Okay, so imagine you're a farmer, right? And you've got hundreds of acres that you have to irrigate.
Hundreds of acres.
You're committed to efficiency. You want to do things right.
Right.
And you're ready to install this top-of-the-line irrigation system.
Right.
But then you hear about this thing called Vortex water revitalization.
Okay.
And at first it sounds a little out there, right?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like science fiction.
Exactly. It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
But what if this Vortex water revitalization was actually the key to unlocking some amazing soil health and boosting your crop yield?
Okay, now you've got my attention.
And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today.
Right.
We've got Adam Abraham. He's the co-founder of President Water Company. And Lee Gross, he's a consultant from Ethical Earth Solutions. And they're talking about how this Vortex technology could be a total game changer for these big irrigation projects.
Yeah, and what I think is really fascinating is that they're not just talking about, getting the water to the crops.
Right.
It's about improving the quality of the water itself. Because it's a whole different way of thinking about irrigation.
It really is. Okay, so let's set the scene a little bit.
Okay.
Our farmer here, in this scenario, he's got a problem.
Okay.
And it's a big one. He's got a lot of land with really high sodium content.
Right. It's a pretty common problem, actually.
Yeah. And he's already committed to doing things the efficient way, right,
Yeah.
with his new irrigation system. But could this Vortex technology be like the missing piece of the puzzle?
It's a really interesting possibility. I mean, think about it. Traditional solutions would focus on removing the sodium, right?
Yeah.
But Vortex technology is totally different. We're talking about restructuring the water at a molecular level to make it better for the plants in the soil.
So it's not about filters or chemicals or anything like that.
No.
We're talking about physics.
Physics.
This is like manipulating the water itself.
Exactly. So these vortex generators, they work by creating a swirling motion inside the water.
Oh.
Like, picture a mini tornado inside the pipe. This vortex, it doesn't actually remove anything from the water. It breaks down the bigger particles, and it increases oxygenation.
So hold on a minute. You're saying there's a tornado in the pipe?
Kind of, yeah, like a mini tornado.
Okay, that's a very vivid image.
It gives the water a boost.
I like that. A boost.
Revitalizes it.
Okay, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around what it means to revitalize water.
Okay, so this swirling action that we've been talking about makes the water more superfluidic.
Superfluid.
It's a big word, I know.
Okay.
But what it means is that it flows better, it can penetrate deeper into the soil, and it carries nutrients more effectively.
So it's like the difference between like thick syrup
Yeah,
and a nice, clear, free-flowing stream.
exactly. It's a great analogy.
So it's not just about getting the water there. It's about making sure it can actually do its job once it gets to the roots.
Exactly.
Now, Adam shared this really interesting story about a farmer in North Carolina who was using a Vortex unit on his corn.
I remember that.
And he got some amazing results.
Oh, man.
But here's the thing. The farmer didn't even use the size unit that was recommended.
I know he was a little hesitant to invest at first, so he got a smaller unit, and even with the smaller unit, the results were impressive.
That's amazing. And it makes you think about what could have happened if he had used the bigger unit, right?
I know, the potential is incredible.
Okay, so we're talking about yield, we're talking about better crops,
Yeah,
but there's got to be other benefits, right?
absolutely.
What about the overall health of the soil?
It's all connected. You improve the quality of the water. You improve everything.
Yeah.
Think about it. Water is like the lifeblood of a whole ecosystem. So when you energize and enhance that water, the benefits, they just ripple outwards.
Wow.
You get fewer pests, better nutrient absorption, and the produce even stays fresh longer.
So it's like creating this more vibrant, thriving ecosystem.
Exactly.
I also remember reading somewhere that this vortexing process can help with biofilms.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
You know those slimy, gunky buildups that can clog up irrigation systems?
Biofilms are a nightmare.
Exactly. But is it true that vortexing can help with that?
It's true, because by increasing the oxygen levels in the water, you're creating an environment that those biofilms, they don't like it. They can't thrive.
So it's not just a one-time fix. It's an ongoing benefit.
Exactly.
And speaking of the system itself, the placement of these vortex generators, it's pretty strategic. Right?
Yeah, you don't just throw them in randomly.
Okay.
It's all about placement, like signal boosters or repeaters in a fiber optic network. You got to make sure that that water maintains that revitalized state as it travels through the pipes and gets to the crops.
Interesting. And one of the things that really struck me about this technology is that the farmer's own mindset and intention can actually play a role in how effective it is.
That's right. It's like this amazing connection between technology and consciousness, you know?
Yeah.
We're talking about a living dynamic system here, not just a mechanical one.
So it's out working with nature, not against it.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's pretty clear that this Vortex technology isn't some fringe idea. It's a real solution to a real problem.
A big problem.
But if water is the foundation of life, as we've been saying, what other areas could benefit from this revitalized, energized water?
That's a great question, and it makes you realize that we've only just scratched the surface of what's possible.
And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. We've been talking about the incredible potential of vortex water revitalization, especially when it comes to agriculture.
It's been fascinating.
Now let's really dig into the science behind it.
Okay, sounds good.
You mentioned earlier that vortexing makes water superfluidic.
Yeah, super fluidic. It still sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie to me.
I know, it's a pretty wild concept.
But what does it actually mean? Like, what's happening at the molecular level when you vortex water?
Okay, so imagine regular water is like a crowded room and everyone's bumping into each other. It's chaotic.
I can picture that.
Now imagine a really good dancer comes into the room and starts moving gracefully. Everyone naturally starts following their lead. They create a swirling pattern. That's kind of like what vortexing does to water molecules. It brings order and flow, reduces friction.
So you're not actually changing the chemical composition of the water, just the way the molecules are arranged.
It's like taking a tangled up ball of yarn and winding it neatly. The yarn itself doesn't change, but it's much easier to work with.
I like that analogy a lot.
And this superfluidic state, it's what allows the water to penetrate deeper into the soil and deliver nutrients more effectively.
It's like a superhighway for nutrients.
Yeah, straight to the plant roots. And here's another interesting thing. Remember that sodium problem we talked about?
Farmer's headache, yeah.
Well, vortexing can actually change how those minerals like sodium interact with each other and the soil.
Really? But how is that even possible? It's just water swirling around.
It's pretty amazing the vortexing process can cause the minerals to cluster together in these smaller, more stable formations.
Okay.
So instead of building up and causing problems, they become more readily available to the plants as nutrients.
So it's not just about moving water around. You're actually optimizing the entire nutrient delivery system.
You got it.
That's incredible. And what about the increased oxygen levels we talked about before? That's got to be good for the plants too, right?
Right. Plants need oxygen to breathe just like we do.
Yeah, of course.
More oxygen in the water means healthier roots and stronger growth.
It's like giving them a breath of fresh air.
Exactly. And don't forget about those anecdotes we talked about with fewer pests.
Right. I was just thinking about that.
There's a definite connection there, too.
How so?
Well, when plants are stressed out, they're more vulnerable to pests and diseases, kind of like how our immune systems get weaker when we're stressed.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But vortexing, by increasing oxygen levels and nutrient availability, it strengthens the plant's natural defenses.
So it's like boosting their immune systems.
Exactly. They're less appealing to pests and more likely to thrive.
It's like a holistic approach to plant health.
Right, addressing multiple factors all at once.
It's not just treating the symptoms. You're getting to the root of the problem.
I see what you did there.
Uh-huh.
But you're absolutely right. That's what makes this technology so fascinating. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about water.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the benefits. But let's be practical for a second. We've been focusing on this big irrigation project. But is Vortex technology something that smaller farmers can use?
Oh, absolutely.
Or even home gardeners?
Yeah, you can get Vortex generators in all sorts of sizes, from ones designed for a small garden hose all the way up to huge systems for industrial irrigation.
So it's not just for the big guys?
Nope. Anyone can benefit from it.
That's great to hear. But this is still a relatively new technology, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the most exciting advancements that are coming down the pipeline?
Well, researchers are always looking for new materials and designs for vortex generators, trying to make them even more efficient and effective.
That makes sense.
And there's a growing focus on integrating vortex technology with other sustainable practices.
Like what?
Rainwater harvesting, permaculture, things like that.
So it's all about creating a more holistic approach.
Exactly.
I'm really curious to see where this technology goes. Yeah. But, some people might be hearing all of this and thinking this sounds too good to be true. What's the catch?
That's a fair question. A little bit of skepticism is always healthy.
Of course.
But I think the evidence speaks for itself. We've talked about some pretty amazing anecdotes, and the science behind vortexing is solid.
And the results we've seen so far are pretty encouraging.
Very encouraging. And, it's important to remember that nature uses these vortexing principles all the time.
Yeah, like whirlpools and tornadoes.
Exactly, even the way water spirals down a drain.
We're not reinventing the wheel here.
Nope, we're just harnessing a natural phenomenon and using it in new ways.
Working with nature, not against it.
Exactly. Now, speaking of new ways, let's switch gears and talk about some of the specific applications of Vortex technology.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this incredible world of vortex water revitalization.
It's been quite a journey.
We've talked about the science behind it and the benefits, and it seems like it's really making a difference, especially for farmers.
Absolutely.
But now I'm really curious about how this technology is being used in other areas.
Yeah.
Because it feels like we've only just scratched the surface here.
You're right. Agriculture is a great example, but it's just the tip of the iceberg.
So give me some examples. Where else are we seeing this technology being used?
Well, for starters, think about all the places where clean, healthy water is essential.
Yeah.
Like municipal water treatment plants.
Yeah.
Vortexing could be a game changer there.
How so?
Think about it enhancing the filtration processes, reducing the need for harsh chemicals.
So we could end up with cleaner, safer water in our homes.
Exactly, and it would be much more environmentally friendly too.
A win-win.
And then there are industrial applications, and so many manufacturing processes rely on water. And if you can improve the quality of that water, you can see some major improvements in efficiency, product quality, even sustainability.
So businesses could save money, make better products, and help the environment.
It's pretty amazing, right?
It really is. And what about aquaculture?
Oh, yeah. Good one. Fish farms are always struggling with water quality issues.
I can imagine.
But vortexing can help oxygenate the water, create a healthier environment for the fish.
So healthier fish and more sustainable aquaculture practices.
Exactly.
I'm loving all of this, but is there anything else, any other applications that might surprise people?
Definitely think about everyday things like swimming pools,
Okay.
hot tubs, even the water filtration systems we use at home.
Wow. So this technology can really impact our everyday lives.
It can reduce the amount of chlorine needed, eliminate harmful bacteria, just create a more enjoyable and healthy experience overall.
It's kind of mind-blowing. And speaking of mind-blowing, remember how we talked about water being essential for all life?
Yeah.
What if we could use this technology to revitalize water for ourselves?
Now you're thinking outside the box.
Is that even possible?
It's definitely something that researchers are exploring.
Really?
Yeah, some people believe that drinking vortex water could have some pretty amazing health benefits.
Like what?
Increased hydration, better nutrient absorption, maybe even enhanced cellular regeneration.
It seems like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with this technology.
We are. It's a really exciting time.
It feels like we're on the verge of a water revolution.
I think you're right.
And if there's one thing we've learned from this deep dive, it's that we need to start paying more attention to water.
Absolutely.
We take it for granted, but it's essential for life.
Couldn't agree more. This conversation has been a great reminder that even the simplest things can have extraordinary potential.
It's true. Maybe it's time we start looking at water, not just as a necessity, but as a source of vitality and renewal.
Well said.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the world of vortex water revitalization. But I hope this is just the beginning of your exploration.
Keep learning and keep an open mind.
Because the future of water is in our hands.